I wrote 9 books in 9 months as a ghostwriter, and I'm going to tell you how. Vlog, see the vlog, look at the vlog. Most of the videos and stuff that I make are more book focused. Hi. But I also do want to be an author and I write a lot, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. And even though today for my job, I am a marketing girly, that is what I do full time, but for a while I was ghostwriting almost full time. I had a couple of different projects and overall that made up a good portion of my week. If you're not exactly sure what a ghostwriter is, it can come in a couple different forms. You can either write an entire book for someone and it be under their name, or you can have some sort of help in the process of writing, whereas like the main author might give you an outline or ideas or a specific set of scenes and stuff that they want to have happen in the book, but they are not going to be writing the full manuscript. Or you can also outline their novels for them. I wrote for 3 different authors. So one of them, she wanted a 9-book series that was like mystery based, and the main character needed to be a woman in her 20s, 30s-ish. Another author, I wrote novellas for a series that she had already written, so I wrote, you know, in her voice, trying to create almost a mini series as a companion to her original writing. And then the last one, I outlined her novels for her. Those were like 70 to 80 page outlines. These are not authors you've heard of, by the way, but I did sign NDAs, which is a big part of ghostwriting. Excuse me. You're in the way. So while I could tell, you know, like some friends and family, like this is what I wrote, even though it's not under my name, overall, I'm not allowed to tell anyone. It can be a little frustrating because I can't actually put those things on a resume more than just, I wrote this, believe me. I can't actually put it in a portfolio or anything like that. But overall, as far as like jobs go, it's a fun job, especially when you have a lot of creative freedom. But there's different pros and cons, which is kind of what I wanted to get into if you're also a writer thinking about trying to do some sort of freelance ghostwriting situation. So first up is pay. And obviously if you're writing for a celebrity and you're writing their book, you're gonna get paid a lot, which you'll see on some books because it'll be like main author's name and then like your name. But overall, if you do what I do, which was write for kind of like an unknown author, then the pay is not fantastic. It was fine for me because I was doing the ghostwriting thing while I was living with my parents during COVID and I had essentially no bills. So I was just saving that money, doing something I enjoyed, which was working at the time. Especially as a freelancer, you're sort of competing on price and speed. So when I found the original listing, and it was like the first one I'd ever applied to, the listing genuinely said like you need to write an 80,000 word novel in a month. If you can do it faster, you will be more likely to be considered. So I told them I could write a novel in 28 days, which I'm not gonna lie, when I said that, I wasn't 1,000% sure that I was gonna be able to do that. That is about 6,000 words a day if you're not going to also be working on the weekends. A lot of these projects overlap for me, so it ended up being about, I was probably writing 8,000 to 10,000 words a day, depending on how many projects I had going on, which is a lot. It's a lot of words, but it did help me learn how to write very quickly. The first one I did, I remember being up until 7 a.m. on the day of the deadline. Pulled an all-nighter, it was rough because you genuinely have to build up a stamina for that type of thing. That's something that I feel really helps my writing in general though, is just learning how to crank out words. I feel like I see that problem with a lot of people who want to write, including myself for a really long time, is that you just don't know how to get the words out on the paper and you genuinely just have to word vomit and be like, if it's bad, it's bad. Because sometimes it's bad. Especially when I was writing at that speed, I sort of had to just take my first idea and run with it and just not worry about making things perfect because there was not time for perfection. They did tell me, they told me that they were going to be editing it before it went to sale. I'm not sure if they just skipped the editing process or if the editor was also under an extreme crunch, but it was impossible for me to write 80 to 100,000 words in 28 days and also have just grammatic perfection. It was just not gonna happen. And so I thought the editor was gonna take care of that, and that was not the case. And seeing reviews online of the book, a lot of them were like, the story was good, the formatting and the grammar errors were distracting, which was really frustrating. And overall, like, I know my name's not on it, but I did want it to be a good piece of work. That was really frustrating to not have the time to go through and proof it myself if the editor also didn't have time to proof it properly. Like I said, like I had to take my first idea and run with it, and that for me is a con because I am a like by the seat of your pants writer, and most of the time when I was writing these novels I would just one sheet bullet point like this is what needs to happen in the story, and other than that I'll fill it in as I go along. But I ended up using plot ideas and character ideas that they were in my brain and I wanted to use them for my own work, but because I was under such a deadline and I didn't feel like I had time to flesh out anything else, I had to use them for someone else's work. And in some cases, like the young adult series where I was writing the novellas, it was somebody else's characters already, and I just sort of had to fill in the blanks of what they would do in these situations and take on their voices. But with the 9 mystery novels, I ended up creating a lot of characters that I genuinely loved, and I can't use them. So that was sort of the double-edged sword, where in one I had complete freedom to write whatever I wanted, but I ended up using my own ideas and my own characters, whereas the other one where I was trying to just match pace with someone else's voice, I didn't really end up using too much of things that I wanted to use later in my own work. And I feel like that's something I notice a lot with ghostwritten novels where, the small names at the bottom of the cover, those are the people who actually wrote the book. And I feel like I noticed that. I noticed the change of voice even with the same characters. I tried really hard to make that not be an issue. And I feel like that can take a lot of effort if you are a ghostwriter, is reading the source material so that you know that you are matching the voice. But it is something that I feel like I got a lot of practice at, because I guess years of fan fiction will do that for you. And then in the last one where I was more of an outliner, that was honestly my hardest project, which you would think it would be the easiest one. But the writer came in with, certain ideas and characters and things that they wanted to see, and I was supposed to outline the novels for them so that they didn't really have to do any of the back process. They could come in and just write the book as they wanted it. But in that process, it was really difficult to find a common ground, which first of all, I don't talk directly to the writers in this case because there's like a middle company that does that for us. And eventually the project got dropped because the author didn't know what they wanted. I remember being so relieved that that project got dropped because I was genuinely like sick to my stomach because I just didn't know what this person wanted from me. But the other two where I was actually writing the books and the novellas, like those were so fun, even though like I'm not gonna lie, they were a little stressful with the deadlines. The main reason I ended up dropping it was because like honestly the pay, I wasn't writing for big name authors, so I wasn't getting big name money. And also because working on someone else's story for hours a day, it's kind of two different things, because I think that the more time you spend being creative and writing, the easier it is to like get yourself into that zone. But if you are like working on someone else's story for so long during the day, it's really hard to feel energized to work on your own writing. And so like my novels basically came to a complete halt while I was working on those projects. And like at the end of the day, I want to be publishing my own novels. So I ended up freelancing in some other areas and doing articles and stuff like that. And eventually that freelancing did lead to like a full-time position that does sort of leave some extra fiction creativity for myself at the end of the day, which is really nice. But the practice that I got ghostwriting is also super helpful to me writing now. So if you're also a younger writer and you want to try this, here's like how I did this. I went on to Upwork, and you only need a couple jobs and complete them well to start getting like recommended to other people who are posting listings and stuff like that. So I just filled out my profile and made sure to send them like writing samples. And after I got the first ghostwriting job, I was getting offers every week for ghostwriting stuff. A lot of people on Upwork want Western romances, so if that's your thing, have at it. But that's really all I got. I wanted to record a book review for Fourth Wing, but I could not get it in the bookstore. You guys took all of them. I just want to hop on the bandwagon. So I'm going to try to get that this weekend and hopefully be reviewing that next week. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we can talk about more book stuff. I'm trying to get on a more consistent schedule, so theoretically I post videos every Sunday. I also post a lot on Book Talk, so if you want to follow my TikTok, I'll put that in the description. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye!